Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the News Crew, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. This week we'll be discussing the NFL's mixed messages on gambling, Dalvin Cook's Lombardi dream, Troy Aikman's missed GM opportunity, and can a cheetah ever change its spots? You can get in touch and keep up to date with all the latest Crew news if you like, subscribe, and follow the Crew on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I look forward to a great show tonight, but as always, I can't do it myself. I'm joined by some of the finest Crew members to talk some ball with. Up first, we've got our own mini soda Viking. It's Craig. Craig, how are we, buddy?
Very good. I am all right, Keith. Not too bad at all. Counting down the days till I'm going on my holidays. Going to be stateside next time the podcast is on, but I'll be listening in. So, yeah, all good here. All good.
Fantastic. Look forward to finding out more about your trips there, mate. And it's all hail to Hamilton's Big Chief. Studs, welcome back, buddy.
How we doing, my man? It's always good to be here.
Just the one hail, of course. Just the one.
Yeah, absolutely. we're not doubling up on that one.
Maybe we only get the one hello.
Like that.
That's the dulcet tones of that's the dulcet tones of Debbie Dodd's Dumbarton Cowboys. Dan, how are we, buddy?
Yeah, all good, mate. I got a mad rush to go home and jump on tonight, but I'm glad to be here.
You were a late substitute, a late call up there. We had one of the Crew got concussion, so you were drafted in under protocol there to take over there. So appreciate the late substitution there, mate, and the effort you put in. Great to see you. We're going to start with our kick-off question. The kick-off question is, I don't know if the listeners may have seen this today, but we were talking about it in the group chat earlier on, that the Detroit Lions had brought out a throwback helmet, and it started a wee discussion amongst ourselves of if you could get any artist to design your team's helmet, who would you go for and why? And the great thing is one of the crew members, Brian, he's fantastic with the AI. So we managed to mock up a few examples there, which we're going to throw up in our social media channel. So get your own mock-ups in. We'd love to see them, which artists you've got and which the team they're designed for. But Craig, I'm going to come to you first of all. Which team would you go for? Would you go for your beloved Vikings first, or who would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was going to redesign anything, yeah, get somebody to do a cool Vikes one. I love the throwback kits that are coming out, the throwback helmets, the stuff that we've seen so far, and hopefully there'll be a few more before the season kicks off. I'd love to see a proper old school Vikes throwback jersey with some proper like Nordic kind of patterns on it and stuff. I think that'd be really cool. But if I was going to pick somebody, we were chatting about it earlier on. Do I go Glasgow based? Do I go somebody like Reddy McIntosh, or do I go a wee bit more? I was talking earlier on, maybe somebody like Andy Warhol, somebody that would get a lot of colour in there, do a cool colour rush jersey and kind of helmet combination. So that would be my two suggestions. I think if I was going to get somebody to do it, if I could pick anyone, I think that'd be pretty smart.
Oh, I like that one. I'm sure Brian will be able to get some decent mock-ups of that. We'll get them posted on the Twitter at grid_iron_crew for those that would like to follow us. Studs, what about yourself? What would you go for?
For me, I follow a couple of kind of local artists in the Kansas area, so staying true to roots, I'm going total Homer picks. So there's a couple of really good artists in the kind of Kansas area. Caitlin Snelling, I think, is the main one that I kind of follow on Twitter, and she does some great portraits of the guys and stuff, so I'm sure she would be able to come up with some good designs. But again, keep it kind of more local, more to these shows. I think somebody like Banksy would be interesting if you could ever find out who it was and get him to just give him the script for all 32 and let's see what he comes up with.
That would be really, really interesting. The one I was thinking is the picture of Banksy where it's got the flowers, the bouquet of flowers where the guy's about to throw that. Could easily just superimpose a wee NFL ball in there. That'd be quite good. Get the Browns wee Elfie or something.
Elfie.
The Browns.
Brownie the elf.
Brownie the elf. There we are. Brownie the elf. Get him on throwing a ball. I think that'd be pretty good. Dan, what about yourself? What do you fancy?
I'm looking through the ones we've done earlier on, and there's a few ideas in that. The Cowboys one was a difficult one. I look at different styles, and they can't really change the Cowboys helmet much. That's the issue. But I done a Bengals one by Damien Hirst earlier on for Stu. It looked good, so I thought, wait a minute,
Is that a tiger just cut in half then?
let's try it with the Cowboys. And I've literally just done it when we came up with the kick-off question there. And the Damien Hirst Cowboys ones look amazing. I've just sent them on the group chat, so I'm going to go with Damien Hirst for especially the top right one. You'll see, and we'll share this later on the Twitter, guys. But the top two of them, so I'll go Damien Hirst.
Oh, it looks like a shiny disco ball.
I'd be good, actually. Just imagine just having a disco ball. Like you're just
the left one looks a bit like a peacock.
I think the disco ball one as well, that'll fit right in at Pride as well. That'd go down an absolute storm, you know.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with like Damien Hirst, a bit kind of modern, but different.
They are pretty cool.
I reckon if Andy Warhol did a bike helmet, you seen the Velvet Underground album cover he did with just the big banana instead of two horns, just two big massive bananas. The horns at the side of the helmet would be the Andy Warhol one.
That'd be fantastic. I'd go for the Seahawks. I'd go for a wee bit of Jackson Pollock. Just go nuts with the paint, spray it all over the place, just like we're going to see the Seahawks do this year. Just pass the ball all over. It'll be wonderful to see. Yes, I like that one. I think we'll go for them. So if you've got any suggestions of artists and helmets you'd like to see, get them into us, and we'll get our AI artiste Brian onto the case to see what he could do. So I think we'll go on to that. Fantastic, good opening question there, guys. We are now going to move on to our news segment of the week, as I'm frantically trying to finish typing up the ticker for it. There we go. So we're going to start off with in the news. I think it was Monday. It was released that the league have reiterated the importance for players not to gamble on property of any of the teams, away from the property of any teams. How hard they're going to come down on players and team officials if this is going to be happening during the season. We've already seen some teams on the end of some fines and missing out some games. I think the Detroit Lions, one of them. Who was the other teams that have suffered so far? Dan, can you remember?
No.
Detroit Lions were the main one.
Aye, well, Atlanta last season, you've had a few teams that have all fallen foul of players that are now getting suspended, but it's the Lions have been mostly making the headlines this week.
Well, the league have reiterated to everyone just the importance of it. I think it's what I want to discuss with is tonight is the kind of mixed messages, because I've noticed in the past couple of years that I've really started to follow the NFL is just how much that they're opening up to the different gambling sponsorships. The Vegas casinos are all getting to sponsor matches and TV slots as well now, and it really is sending mixed messages and what the guys are allowed to do. And you think a wee flutter here and there, especially if it's not in your team, you can understand why the league would be so against it. But as I come to you first of all, what's your thoughts on this? Is this a wee bit mixed messages, or should these players not be dabbling at all?
It's a kind of catch-22, as I say. See if you're stupid enough to do it on NFL property. I mean, the rule is quite clear. The Detroit Lions could have walked out of the car park and literally placed a bet. Now, I think Jameson Williams in particular was betting on college football. Yes. I think that's been well known, well documented. So it's not as if he's betting on NFL. For me, I think if you're going to allow them to bet, there's just a blanket ban on NFL altogether. But then that opens up the doors for guys for college that they're still in contact with, kind of maybe giving them tips and things like that. So it is a difficult one. I think they're obviously tracking it quite heavily at the NFL facilities. But there's if they're not wanting to piss off the sports betting companies, they're wanting to bring in that money because it's a shit ton of money that's coming in. So I think they need to kind of just try and levy it as best they can and just say, look, if you're going to be dumb enough to do it in our facilities, then you're going to get punished. Go home, do it in your flat, do it in your apartment. As long as we don't know about it and it's not on the and it's not in the NFL, then that's fine. But I think I think I heard right where the sports betting companies have actually got a responsibility to report it to the NFL if any of the transactions are happening in the facilities as well. So
the thing that
caught.
Yeah, Craig, the thing that worries me is that these games are such high intensity and the guys have such short careers that it could be an easy way for them to edge toward the murky side of gambling, where you hear of these mobsters that run the big casinos that claim their money that way and make their money that way. It's they're opening themselves up big time to this by really getting back in bed with these people, by allowing them to sponsor the programs, and then for the players to see this everywhere they go, the sponsorship, the signs, subliminally,
That's it, yeah.
they're going to be affected by this and want to take that wee flutter.
It's everywhere. That's the thing. Yeah, there's so much gambling, advertising, in sport in general, and then particularly in American football and fantasy football. You know, so many companies that are on board with that, and you know, people enjoy it and everything else. But listen, you're a professional athlete. You're an NFL player. The rules are clear. They've clamped down so hard on it. You've seen. You know, there was all the stuff with Calvin Ridley last season. You know, suspended for a year. You're now seeing other players. Lions players also suspended indefinitely at least a year. They are absolutely clamping down on it. The message I think from the NFL is pretty clear when it comes to if you're going to gamble on an NFL game of any sort, you know, you are going to face the consequences, and they're going to be severe. So when it comes to gambling in general, you know, if you're a pro athlete, surely you've just got to say, look, no. Don't do it. These guys are getting paid more than enough money. You know, end of the day, that's there's no reason why they should. You're interested in football. You want to play football. I get that, and maybe that does kind of tempt you into doing these things. But you've just got to. I think the NFL are right to take a hard stance on it and say, no, sorry guys, but we're not budging in this whatsoever.
One thing I was thinking about it, Dan, is that these guys are the top of their profession. They are going to have contacts, as you mentioned earlier, Studs, in the college game, but they're also going to have contacts in different sports as well. So players could trade off insider knowledge with other sports, with basketball players, with the soccer players, baseball players, be able to work together. Because you hear many times about up to a certain age, these players all had a chance of being a professional basketball player, and then they become a tight end, or they had a chance of making it into the baseball, the major leagues there. Can you see that having a factor in it, where they're just trying to protect themselves from all of these chances where the players are left themselves open? Now, the league actually try to protect themselves, or they try to protect the players, or do they try to protect the integrity of the game here?
I think at that point you made about other sports, I think that probably does go on already. I don't think it's something we need to worry about happening in the future. It probably does go on at the moment, but I was just reading through the actual rules there. So the 6 rules are: don't bet on the NFL, don't gamble at your team facility while travelling for a road game or staying at a hotel, don't have someone bet for you, don't share team inside information, and don't enter a sports book, and don't play daily fantasy football. So there's nothing to stop them gambling on other sports.
Yeah.
So it probably goes on, and in terms of protecting the league, obviously, the league protecting themselves, I think very much so. They don't want this image of, especially if a high-profile player. I know Ridley got, if a high-profile player was to be caught, that would be massively damaging to the league's image. So I think probably a bit of protecting of the league here, and obviously integrity as well. But it's a fine line with sports and gambling. You can't have it both ways. You can't have the whole, we're going to take the money to advertise, but then we're not going to endorse it, which we know from the soccer world. it's massive at the moment. Massive campaigns to cut down on gambling sponsorships and stuff like that. So how it goes forward, I don't know, but they need to do something to calm down the rules. They made it pretty clear what the rules are. So the rules are don't. It's pretty much where you're at. There's no grey areas at the moment.
I think one of the other things that we've seen would refer back to the football, the soccer that we see here. There's so many murky companies that are started up in the Far East that have taken to sponsoring English Premier League teams, but then all of a sudden have folded midway through the season. Rangers in Scotland have been affected by that as well. It's hard for them to properly do the background on these teams, especially when they're over in countries like China and Singapore and places like that, where it's not as well regulated. I wonder if it's a good idea that they are then focusing and allowing the American companies, as Stud says, that they have to report any issues or any problems. We've seen it here, but down in Brentford, it's happened where players have put lots of gambling, lots of bets on, and it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with this, if there's anything they can learn from our football here going forward. Anything else you want to add to that, gentlemen?
One thing I forgot to say when I was making that point is I think one thing we need to watch on, it happens a lot with, I think it was mainly cricket, is the spot betting. That's quite an easy one to manipulate if you're going to go down that route. It depends who it is, but if you've got somebody who's potentially a captain of a team, you've got the whole coin toss thing, and there's so many aspects of a game that you can bet on individually, so it's something to watch.
Yeah, certainly. Aye. We'll certainly be able to have a wee look at that, and we'll see how it goes through the season. I think one issue that's a problem for me is just how many kids are being influenced by this sort of thing, and it's going to create kids that are aware of it, kids that want to gamble that, from an early age, and especially when you're not that clever with your money. I think that's a pretty dangerous thing. Good. Right, moving on then. We have heard from Dalvin Cook, recently let go by the Minnesota Vikings. He still thinks he can make a difference for a team. He can be the difference maker for a team. And what he's really looking for is just a chance. A chance, Craig, a chance to raise that Lombardi trophy high above his head. Something that he didn't feel he'd be able to do in Minnesota.
Was he quoted as saying that?
Might be paraphrasing there a little bit, but
paraphrasing that there,
where do you think if you can't do it with your guys, the Vikes, where do you think you could potentially be a difference maker this year?
Well. First things first, he absolutely could lift a Lombardi with the Minnesota Vikings. Well, it's going to be happening next year. We'll revisit this in January.
The season of hope has started.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'd said earlier on in one of the previous pods that I was keen to give Alexander Mattson a chance as running back. I thought that Dalvin Cook has been a fantastic running back, really productive running back for the Vikes. I think past 4 seasons he's always been north of 1,100 rushing yards. He's been consistent. He's had niggling injury issues, but the biggest problem is simply he is rapidly approaching that cliff edge that all running backs in the NFL eventually reach. The stats don't lie. As soon as you get to that kind of 28 years old and above, when it comes to your productivity, unless you are, one of these really exceptional guys, and there are still some exceptional running backs in that draft group, from that same draft class, guys like McCaffrey and Kamara, if he plays, if he stays out of bother. There's loads of fantastic running backs, but like I say, they're all starting to get to that point now where you're seeing this next generation of younger running backs coming in that are going to be taking more of the kind of lion's share. So where Cook ends up, I'm not sure. There's loads of kind of mentions of Miami.
Yes.
I don't know whether there's any truth in it, but it could potentially be a pretty good landing spot for him there. If Tyreek Hill can stay out of trouble, if Tua's fit, then you slot Dalvin Cook in there, and if he can have another really productive season like he has had, stays injury free, then that could be a pretty good spot for him there, I would say. I will certainly miss having him at the Vikes this year, but any team I think is going to have to think very carefully about what they offer him. Money-wise, he does seem to be kind of holding out, and listening to the previous pod as well, they're talking about teams not really jumping in and grabbing some of these free agents straight away because they think that they're the money that they're expecting is maybe not what the current market value is. I think this will rumble on for a little bit longer. You've seen other guys like, again, similar ages to Dalvin Cook, like Leonard Fournette, that's just been let go by the Bucks, who again, terrific running back in his prime. But I'll be watching it with interest to see where he does land and who he ends up getting paired up with. Because do they try and maybe change his style of running? Do they maybe bring him in if he holds out and doesn't get a big money deal and maybe has to wait that little bit longer? Do they maybe utilize him in a different way? Does he become more of a third down back rather than a Derrick Henry type back, or a running back that's been running to the ground over the past season or two? So be interesting to see what happens with him. But I wish him well though.
I think the key with Dalvin Cook is
just saying we had a great discussion last week about some of the running backs that are coming to that age group, as you mentioned, and the availability of them. Studs, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I was just going to say the Dalvin Cook one, he's actually a Miami boy, so I think that's why a lot of the links are happening with Miami that we're seeing. So he's I think obviously there's the whole homecoming, and then there's Miami a tax-free state as well.
There you
go. So whatever he does, they get off of a contract for somebody that's charging tax, he can make up for in Miami. I don't know.
There's a damn sight better in Miami.
Well, I seen somebody saying on Twitter that if he lands at the Chiefs, then the Chiefs would definitely run it back. But for me, I think doesn't really matter who our running backs are. You had that 7th round rookie last year in Jet McKinnon, who hadn't been healthy perennially for the last kind of 3 years before that. So for me, if we were going to go for a big money free agent, I'd rather see us going for Hopkins. The main thing we need to do is restructure Chris Jones. So I wouldn't say Cook to the Chiefs as a starter for me. I don't know. The Broncos one's one that kind of sounds plausible to me, purely because you've got Sean Payton there who likes to utilise multiple running backs. Javonte Williams isn't. I don't know if he's expected to be 100% for the start of the season as well. And they've just signed, for the Bengals, Pirine for the Bengals as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if Sean Payton brings in another back just to add to that rotation and go with the 3. So I think AFC West could see him land in there as well. And I think the Chargers are pretty light too.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to say that I've heard the story, the rumours this week that Chris Jones is close to agreeing a deal with the Chiefs. So that's something hopefully we'll be able to discuss maybe in next week's pod for you there, Studs. Dan, what about your beloved Dallas Cowboys? You have lost Zeke. Would this be the punch that you'd be looking for to help Pollard out?
Yeah, I think we spoke about landing spots last week. I think we just generally talked about landing spots last week. Now talking about where he thinks he can go and win. Looking at teams who are potentially in a position to, you would expect at least do well this season. There's probably only 2 or 3 that need a running back that could potentially be in that running. The Cowboys, I think, are one of them to replace Zeke. And our one's the Bengals. I think the Bengals could be doing me. I think they would do well in there. They step up there. And who was the other one? Sorry, I just my mind blank. I was looking at it a second ago.
The Eagles have lost.
Yeah, the Eagles. The Eagles got the three. They had the three, didn't they? There was another one. The Bills was another one that could potentially be doing another running back.
Go and join his wee brother.
Of his quality, yeah.
Pretty good, actually. Cook squared. That could be good.
I think all the teams that could potentially, we would expect to potentially go deep into the season, that's probably the three that need a running back. There's other ones that could. The Broncos definitely need them, but I don't think they'll get anywhere near a Super Bowl. So he wants to win next year. I think those three are probably the top picks. I mean, Dolphins are going to have some team, but are they Super Bowl bound? Unlikely. But yeah, I would pick either the Cowboys, the Bengals, or the Bills if he really wants to win next season.
If he wants to win, he needs to stay in the NFC, because if he comes into that AFC, it's just too loaded. Let's be brutally honest. Outside of probably the Eagles, 49ers, they're probably the main two, and then you're looking at teams like the Cowboys and stuff like that as just a slight tier below. So whereas the AFC, you look at the teams that's in there. Dan just touched the Dolphins potentially. Obviously, you've got the Chiefs up. The Chiefs are in there. You've got the Bills. If Diggs can get on the same page as the rest of his team and not be frustrated, I think was his words today or the last couple of days. Is he going to stay happy? So that's another factor in at the Bills side of things. But the NFC is where he would want to stay, if you ask me, because there's probably. I mean, you imagine he goes to the Seahawks, for example. Geno Smith another waiting, got into the playoffs last year. Would that help the Seahawks along?
Well, the Seahawks have lost Rashad Penny, of course. He's went to Philadelphia. It might be a shrewd bit of investment there, but we've already got two strong running backs, Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet coming in. So I'm unsure if that would be a move that we'd be looking to do at the Seahawks just now, but I'm not sure if we're quite poised for the Lombardi. I think that we're bringing forward a good young team just now, and they're gaining experience, but I don't think we're quite ready to challenge just yet. I'll be interested to see. There's quite a lot of these older players, whether they are actually going to get the pay that they feel they're due. And it's amazing how short a career running backs have and how little they seem to be respected with their pay compared to other positions. I think it's because they get the 4 or 5 years on the cheap deals before they actually can get their big payday. But that time they're already starting to go into decline though.
Yeah, I think what's not helped as well in the last, say, 5 or so years, it's became a throwing league. I mean, so running backs, they have got their uses, obviously, but if you go back a bit further than that, they're not as elite towards teams as they were going back. It has become a quarterbacks league massively, so you need to be a someone like a Christian McCaffrey who can do it all. But Zeke, when he first came into the league, he could do it all as well. That's as a running back now in the league, that's what you need to be able to do.
You might want to tell that to the Falcons, because they look like they're just going to pound it down your throat.
That's because they've not got a quarterback.
Well, there is that.
So, I mean, it does work, but I think in this league, you're not going to now outrun a team that throws the ball more. I mean, it will happen, but you need to have an elite quarterback now. You don't necessarily have to have an elite running back.
Moving on to our next piece of news, then Troy Aikman is moved away from being a tremendous quarterback to being a colour commentator on the TV. I can't remember which TV station it is that he works with just now, but he's hinting at possibly retiring, and how he has maybe got a wee bit of regrets at not pushing for or taking up a GM position. What do we think of this move for Troy Aikman? Who is it he usually commentates with? And
I thought, was he not moved to Amazon? I thought he'd moved to Amazon.
No, they moved to ESPN. Him and Joe Buck.
Was it ESPN?
Joe Buck went first, and then he went, well, I want Troy Aikman with me, so ESPN went, all right, we'll pay him a fortune as well.
Yeah.
So, 3-time Super Bowl champion, but the experience he's got, do you think it's going to be a a missed opportunity? Is it easy to make that step from being a player to then going to being a GM somewhere? Do you think he's been a miss there? Is there any teams that you think he could have worked out with?
I think the opportunity is going from, because obviously he's great at what he does, but I think part of a GM is going to have to be understanding what's coming out of college, and he probably watches and understands it, but I don't think at the level that he would need to be a GM. I mean, I think he when he retires, Jerry Jones will basically offer him a job for life at the Cowboys, being some sort of ambassador or some I don't know, something to do with the Cowboys anyway. I think that's probably the best he can hope for at this stage now. Stay in TV or get a job like that. I mean, I looked at earlier on when we mentioned this. ESPN gave him a $90 million deal over 5 years.
Jeez,
I mean, he's not going to get that not commentating. Do you know what I mean? That's just crazy money. So yeah, I think the ship has sailed for him to be involved on the front line of a team in terms of front office or GM or anything like that. I think he'll have a job for life at the Cowboys if ever wants it, I think.
Oh yeah.
I suppose, Craig, there's always the XFL if he wants to go try it there.
This is true. He's hinted that he's got an idea of when he's going to call it a day, but he's also said he doesn't believe that's necessarily anytime soon. So like I say, he's only in his second year in a multi-year contract with ESPN. So he still seems to be pretty happy doing that and doing a good job at it. So I think he's more just highlighting maybe looking forward. He's thinking, have I missed the opportunity to step into that GM role? He did say, it's an all-consuming role. It would require a lot of sacrifices if that is something that he'd chosen to do. And I think a few years back, I think it was about 2019, he said he'd spoken to a number of contacts in the NFL about, the possibility of transitioning to that GM capacity somewhere around the NFL, but it just didn't materialise. So, he probably has, as you say, Dan, he's probably maybe missed the opportunity, but seems to be more than content in making. Let's be honest, he's not making the worst money in the world with ESPN. So I don't think he would be doing it to boost the retirement income in any capacity. Put it that way.
I suppose, Studs, it's just the love of the game. It never really leaves you, and you just want to be close to the action. Is it an issue that he's been away from the day-to-day aspect of the game for so long that maybe he wouldn't be able to engage and work with this younger generation of player, not really get them? Would he be the old man? Hey there, young people, how goes it type thing?
I think obviously he has been in the booth for quite a while now. But again, I think he's going to be doing his research for the games, but he's probably got about a dozen researchers doing that for him, and he just reads it off the script with the money he's on. He could always take over Antonio Brown's team, because they're saying they're not going to be wanting him as GM soon.
They need a new league, never mind anything else.
You made that wee quote there about young people. It made me think of a still game. Imagine rocking up the first day of pre-season. I like the PlayStation. Do you like the PlayStation?
Do you like the PlayStation? Brilliant.
Fantastic.
I must admit, I do think Dan's point though about the college game something that I kind of find quite interesting. That's when you can see somebody that's got knowledge of the NFL, somebody with an unbelievable knowledge of the college game, like Daniel Jeremiah, for example. I think he'd be a prime candidate for a lot of GM roles with his knowledge of the college game. And again, there's others in there as well, but with just his recent knowledge and obviously nailing the first 4 picks bang on, and the fact that in the draft this year, I think he'd be somebody on radars for owners if they were looking at new GMs.
Anybody that can predict that draft trade deserves to get a job anywhere.
I think he used to work with the Eagles as well, though, didn't he, in the background? So he's got knowledge of working in the background for an NFL team. It's whether you could prize him away for it. Sorry,
and of course, the Eagles are or the standard just now for when it comes to the drafting. Some of the work that is it Roseman has been doing is unbelievable. Moving on then to we're heading to the airport now with Jack Jones. Had a bit of a carry-on issue with the at the airport. Craig, what happened here?
So yeah, I had to laugh at this. I say reading the news this week. So yeah, Patriots cornerback Jack Jones. He's landed himself in a bit of bother this week. Basically, he was arrested on Friday last week, and I say on suspicion of it. The article says on suspicion of attempting to bring guns through airport security. He's been charged, with 2 counts of possession of a concealed weapon in a security area of an airport, possession of a firearm without a firearm identification card, unlawful possession of a firearm, carrying a loaded firearm, and possession of a large capacity feeding device as well. Now, I've done it a few times. You go to the airport and you put your bag through the security thing, and it gets put to the side, and the guy's like, "Is this your bag?" And "Oh, you've left a bottle of Volvic in it," and you go, "Oh, sorry, forgot about that." How can you forget that you've got all of that in your bag going to the airport, like in your carry-on bag? Seriously, like on what planet is this guy on?
Did you pack this bag yourself?
I don't understand how you can
It was the T1000 that packed this one for me, mate.
I mean, it's like when you're packing your bag, go through it, right? Have I got my toothbrush, my toothpaste? Have I got a clean pair of boxers? Right, brilliant, we're good to go. I forgot to look in that back pocket where I forgot I had like 2 loaded firearms and everything else. I mean, give me peace. I mean, come on, the fact that his lawyer saying he had no intention of bringing any guns to the airport that day.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden. What's the world coming to when the free world you can't take your firearms on the airport? Do you know? To be fair to him, he's best probably putting them in his carry-on luggage than actually putting them in the hold, because they charged them a fortune for going over the 20 kilograms weight there.
You're talking about the NFL issuing reminders to players about not gambling. Issue them another reminder: don't bring firearms to an airport.
It's not worked with the NBA and Jerome Morant, is it? So he carries his guns everywhere.
Honestly.
So I carry on there with Jack Jones.
I think there's actually a link to the NBA as well, because I think the lawyer that's defending Jack Jones, I think, has been quite public in her scathing criticism of that NBA player as well. So, but she's quite happy to defend Jack Jones. Or he, sorry.
There we go. In it for the money. Can a cheetah change its spots? Tyreek Hill in the news again this week for the wrong reasons after having an eventful fishing trip. Dan, did you see this week?
Yeah, just a quick read up before we came on there. I was looking at, so basically he was out on a boat trip and they came back to the marina, and apparently were fishing off the pier for tarpon. I've never heard of that fish, but that's what they were. But apparently it's illegal to fish for these fish. There must be some sort of protected species or something like that. So an employee at the harbour came and said to them, "Look, you can't fish for them, blah, blah, blah." And apparently whatever then happened, Tyreek Hill then struck the employee and assaulted him. So yeah, he's a bit of bother. Apparently his agent is Drew Rosenhaus, I think is his agent. Apparently was on the same trip. So apparently he would have been there at the time as well. And funny enough, he has had absolutely nothing to say about this shit.
He's too busy telling everybody about the time he wrestled a shark when he was out fishing.
Absolutely.
That's I was going to say. He was too busy in the water with the sharks.
But what I've read, it's going to be a misdemeanor battery charge, but it might seem like nothing in the grand scheme of things. But like you said, how many times are people going to get away with things before it becomes an issue?
Apparently they're not pressing charges, or at least that's what I've read. Apparently they're not pressing charges, but it's just another example of NFL players and boats in general are not a good combination. Like just ask the 2017 New York Giants when it comes to boats. They're not a good idea. ask a drunk Tom Brady who tried to chuck a Lombardi off of a boat and nearly put it in the bottom of a river. Boats aren't a good idea. Like just keep NFL players in general away from boats, I think, is what we can take from this. And Tyreek Hill, just keep Tyreek, just I don't know, keep him wrapped in cotton wool in the off season. Just don't let him go out.
It's a long holiday for them, isn't it? I've just had a wee quick Google of what a tarpon is. That's nothing to mess with, by the way. That fish is massive. That looks like it could do damage. It's like 6 foot. Some of the smallest ones I've seen is like 6 foot tall, 6 foot long. They could bite the hand off you. Absolutely. I think it's for his own safety. They were telling me stop fishing for it. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So there you go. Tyreek Hill's having an eventful holiday anyway.
Aye. Tarpon supper.
Just to jump in, sorry to interrupt there. The biggest one ever caught was caught in Guinea-Bissau. 286 pounds it was.
Oh, please so.
That's a linebacker. There we go. There we go.
Now you just need to worry he's got to behave himself in the flight back for Frankfurt.
Oh dear. International waters. He should be fine if he goes out a wee bit further next time.
Just don't mess with the German police.
Any other bits of news that you'd like to cover, gentlemen? No? Happy. So. We will move on then to Dan's third and top 10. Dan, I believe you've got something for us.
Yeah, this might seem like a very easy one, but I might throw a few curveballs in and try to answer this one. So today's topic, this week's topic for the top 10 is, and some of these they have done this actually on the website I looked at, they've taken into account for inflation and these prices, so it might catch us out. So the top 10 most expensive NFL stadiums to build.
Ooh.
Oh, US Bank's got to be in there. It costs a fortune.
Right, US Bank number 7, 1.24 billion.
We've got to have the Death Star in Vegas is the obvious answer.
Aye.
Yep, Allegiant 1.99 billion.
Okay.
Was it MetLife that was built in 2010? I was reading the other day. Am I right in that?
MetLife this is what I wanted to say we catch out. It's number 2 in the list.
And so the Rams on SoFi as well. With the
SoFi, Rams and
Chargers.
Yeah, MetLife was 2.11 billion. SoFi is 5.76 billion.
Jeez, it looks as if you're getting your money's worth there, though, for your £50 hot dogs.
I think that'll probably account for the whole area that the revamp trial and just the stadium itself.
Aye, true.
Plus real estate in New York, New Jersey for MetLife as well, if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, so that's us got 4, another 6 to go.
Okay. Got to have your one, Dan, the Cowboys Stadium.
Yeah, 1.87 billion. I think when it was built at the time, it was the first $1 billion stadium. So it's now dropped to number 4 in the list now.
Oh, right, okay. Ooh, let's think.
Atlanta's
new stadium.
Atlanta, number 5.
It's got the cool kind of spirally roof that kind of opens like a camera shutter, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you've got the top 5 already, so 4 to go.
Lumen Field, I'll go for.
Lumen, who's that?
The 49ers.
Seahawks.
No, Seahawks not.
If the 49ers not got they built theirs not that long ago.
Levi Stadium, number 6, 1.4 billion. Keith, I'm used to the Seahawks being Century Link. That's what threw me there.
Yeah, they've changed it now. They'll call it.
Right. 8, 9, and 10 to get.
What about Miami's Hard Rock?
No.
I'm gonna go a bit left field here. Indianapolis Colts.
Yes. Lucas Oil Stadium, number 8, 916 million.
What else?
When did they move into these stadiums?
Field, number 9, sorry, 950 million. Ford Field.
Smudge.
Okay.
No, number 10 to get 940 million. Right, when this, I'll give it. It's a
give some clues.
Older stadium. Let me just see when it was built. I think it's older, but pretty well. It's not. 2003 opened.
Oh,
2003.
it's older than that. 2003, did you say?
Yep.
Is it Steeler Stadium? Is it Acrisure?
No.
Foxborough?
No. What NFC team?
Seahawks.
No, keep waiting for them.
Oh,
NFC
Eagles.
team. I cut 16 teams out of your answers.
Right, Eagles.
Yes, the link.
There you
the
go.
link.
940 million. So there goes your top
Good.
10 this week.
I did all right there.
Go for it. Go
Bad at
for
all.
Dan. Read us the top 10 from 10 down to 1, please, again.
Yeah, so number 10 is Lincoln Financial Field, 940 million. Number 9 was Ford Field, 950 million. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis was 960 million. 7, US Bank in Minnesota for 1.24 billion. Number 6, Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, should I say, for the 49ers, 1.4 billion. Number 5, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 1.66 billion. Number 4, AT&T was the first $1 billion stadium. With inflation, they're now saying it was 1.87 billion, which is number 4. And then it's probably the 2 of the last 3 are the most recent ones. So Allegiant in Vegas, 1.99 billion. Number 2 is MetLife, going with inflation, they're saying it's 2.11 billion. And number 1 by an absolute country mile was SoFi, 5.76 billion.
That's crazy.
And I think
I'm
we've got
assuming most that'll be their land.
You've got a few good ones to look forward to, though. You've seen all the kind of renderings of some of the
Bills and
ones
Jacksonville.
coming out, the new Bills Stadium. Yeah,
the
the
Jags
Jags
one
one looks class. It's
I
going to
was
be.
going to say, I wonder where that'd fall in the list, the Jags new one,
Aye.
when it's done.
I think they're around about the 5-6 billion just now. They're going for, because they're redeveloping the full area downtown. Looks really interesting. Look forward to seeing that. Hopefully, the punters down there will get their money's worth. And Dan, I think we're coming back to you for our statistic of the week.
Oh, yeah. Yes, so statistic of the week. So this one is it's a bit of a dig at one of our regular hosts, will I say, and it's not Keith. So the Cleveland Browns last won their division in the 1988-89 season. And of all the teams that have won a division since then, believe it or not, there's one that has won it twice, who are no longer a team. So the Houston Oilers have won a division in more recent history than the Cleveland Browns. They've actually won 2. They won one in 91 and in 1993. So yeah, so couldn't get any worse for the Browns. The Houston Oilers have won a division in more recent history than they have.
Fantastic.
Brian's got to be sitting raging.
You'll be you'll have spat the dummy out.
We'll make it account that the
Him and the baby both
Titans have also won it as well.
You never know. It might be their year. Gentlemen, this has been great fun. Thanks very much for getting involved. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch with the crew, you can do so on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at Grid Irn-Cru, IRNCRU for Irn-Cru. Instagram, it's grid_iron_crew. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and we will be a wee bit more active with the school summer holidays coming up. So we'll be getting in touch with a few more people, hopefully expanding the crew a wee bit more and getting some more podcasts out for you to listen to keep us going through the dark days between now and the start of September. Craig, our mini Soda Viking, thank you very much for joining us tonight, mate. It was great to get you back on.
No worries, bud. Pleasure as always.
Fantastic. Studs, Big Chief, great to hear from you.
Yeah, good to chat with you boys as always. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
We'll get some WD-40 for those knees for next week.
Brutal, honestly. I've been trying not to move.
And a Dallas Cowboys superstar fan, Dan, thank you very much.
No bother. I think we're going to trademark the countdown for the now. It's now 11 crews till kickoff.
11 crews till kickoff. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. We will be back next week, but look out for some more podcasts and some more information popping up on our Twitter feeds, especially the the artist-inspired helmets that we'll be playing about with some AI for. If you've got any suggestions of your own or any of your own designs, please send them to the crew. We'll get them retweeted out for everyone to see. Thanks very much. It's down to about 80 odd days until the start of the season. It's not getting that. Doesn't feel that long, but I'm sure the days will fly by now. But anyway, the crew will see you through. And thanks very much for listening.